Sure. Thanks, Salwan. And I think also good afternoon to everyone on the call. We've got a full house of 72 people, so that's big. That's big. And also thanks for everyone making time to join us today. I'll kick right into it. It's quite interesting to hear why people joined today. And in my group, I said I joined because I am aware of the group of people that Citizen Lab works with, and I'm actually here to learn from you guys. So let's take this as a learning session. And that's part of the reason why I had agreed. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's a crowd that I don't often engage with, and I'm very keen to understand, in particularly where people are in understanding numeracy issues. I'm here with my brilliant, young, vibrant colleagues, and they will be helping, in particular in the breakaway rooms. And I suppose the advantages when you work with youth, they challenge you in your thoughts, and they keep you up to date with all these technical stuff. So at the background, you'll see Tulani, Minweno, and Ilona, and Upumezo. They work as teacher coaches at Funda Wande, and they work quite closely with teaching assistants and as well as teachers in school. So they will help me to facilitate some of the discussion questions. And I know that there's also, because of the group of, or the number of people, there's also some colleagues that are joining us from Citizen Leadership Lab. One of the things, without any being prescribed any information, what are your views and thoughts, and what are the things you are reflecting on, thinking about, or even preconceived ideas about early numeracy in early grades? Cool. So please remember, there are prizes for most engaging people, and I'm encouraging you guys really to reflect and think deep. So I don't know if it's going to be Salwan or Nonhlanhla that will pick in our. Let's go. Thanks, Salwan. In our view, we've kind of, and just a bit of like our backgrounds as an organization, we're a combination of researchers, teachers, content experts, and so forth. And we've kind of done a lot of work in understanding, let's first start where people are, like what are people's views and what are the challenges and what are the things and their perceptions or views around numeracy. And one of the things that stood out the most to us was that in conducting years of research and speaking to a lot of teachers, is that this idea that it's okay if you skip the basics, grade 1 to, it's not my problem, I'm going to shift this issue to the next teacher in the next year, and it just becomes a rapid problem. In grade 3, the teacher's like, the system says I need to put them through, and it's not going to be my problem next year, it's going to be the next teacher's problem in the next year. So what I'm going to try and share with you guys, really, in a sense of this pushing through and not getting the foundations right from the start, has ripple effects throughout the child's learning almost trajectory. So what I'm going to share with you firstly is to say, in South Africa, we have genuinely a numeracy / mathematics issue. So I think many of us on this call are teachers and are probably aware about it. But I think to also just bring it to much more, I don't want to say contextual, but more of a comparison view. So this is the TIMS, which is Trends in Mathematics and Science Teaching. It's an international study where almost about 62 countries participate in, and it's supposed to compare in terms of, on average, South African learners or whichever country, how they're performing versus globally. So another way to think about this is like, if we think about what is this thing that politicians are obsessed about these days, 4RI, digital economy, all of these fancy words that they throw out, it's like, it's all good and well. But if we're not going to get the maths or the language, all of those things, we need those skills that fit into the economy. So this provides us almost a sobering perspective. So if you look there, the average score, so 50% in this test is considered to be 500 center points, right? So if I were to show you here, just over here, that's almost like the average point. That in this study, Singapore performs the highest, almost 125 points above average. Philippines, you know, is sort of comes in last in this assessment with just 297. And South Africa is just only, you know, almost the third lowest performing country when we're looking at mathematics achievement. Again, is to say, this is something that plays out in, and I'll show my next slide, will talk to how this unfolds as the child journey on into their learning trajectory. Another way, I mean, in my group, we spoke about number sense, we spoke about just being able to identify all these numerical concepts. So another way of looking at this, and this assessment is usually tested in early grade 5, and it's supposed to test numeracy skills from foundation phase in grade 4, right? So it's usually an assessment that's conducted first term that tests sort of their mathematical, learners' mathematical knowledge from grade 1 right up until grade 4. So that's the point of that. So if another way of looking at it is if we look at these benchmarks, I'm just going to let this person in, and all the different sort of numeracy skills. If you see there, 73% of the kids in South Africa, right, are unable to go beyond showing basic mathematical knowledge, right? So that's almost like grade 1 to skills of, and these are grade 5s, by the way. So these are grade 5 kids, the majority of them, that's almost where they are hitting. They're unable to go beyond that. If you think more of a higher order questions, only 1% of this average South African learner is able to do sort of the higher order or advanced benchmarks, which includes applying your knowledge, understanding variety of relatively complex solutions, and explaining reason. So another way of looking at it, I mean, I think all of us may be aware, there's your higher order questions, lower order question. It means that in South Africa, only average on the mathematics assessment, only an average of 1% of the kids in grade 5 are able to answer these higher order questions. Again, this is another sobering perspective if we want to get to the nuts and bolts of the different mathematical skills. So another way that the same assessment, same results have been presented. Like I said, I mean, we do research and advocacy, and we always try to understand these things from various dimensions. We then looked at, or they looked at, sort of this assessment according to provinces. Surprise, surprise, Western Cape, I think that's not new. In many of these international assessments, they always kind of outperform all the other provinces. The gray one is the science, which I've kind of like, you can ignore that. So if you look at the blue sort of bars, Western Cape with an average of 444 score, which is just under the international average, with Limpopo coming in sort of with the lowest average in mathematical performance. Again, this is just another perspective to say, if we were to think of as a country or as a sector, and we had 10 rands to spend on improving numeracy, where would we channel from a provincial perspective? It's probably would be Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest, and Eastern Cape, for example. And I think lastly, just to sort of kind of paint this picture of urgent interventions and then an urgent focus and need to be able to go revisit numeracy in the foundation phase. So another way of looking at it, no fee schools in this context, we're referring to quintile 1 to 3, fee paying schools, quintile 4, 5, with a small representative sample of private schools. So again, very, very, very sobering. And basically what this bar graph tells you that the majority of kids in your quintile 1 to 3 schools, no fee schools, almost 76% of them are getting less than that are actually achieving below the lower international benchmark, right? So that's a massive, and this is grade 5. I think that's the thing, and I'll show you later on some of the examples of these assessments, and you'll see it in actual context. And of course, I mean, I think we know the social economic issues of our country and how that translates into health, education, and labor and so forth. So if you're in a richer school, it's highly likely that you will be on par. Here we see that almost about 28% of the kids in quanta 4 to 5 schools are able to do sort of the basic mathematics or lower mathematical skills for the grade 5 or for their level. I always try to say this picture for us paints sort of the richer get richer and the poor get poorer. And again, just hold on, is that we're hoping to take you through how this outplays further on the learning trajectory. And towards the end, we're going to share some of the pedagogical and content principles that we've tried to incorporate in our program to be able to address this. Cool. So before I go on to the next question, I just want, and I can't see everyone. So someone, I'm going to ask you if there's any questions, clarifying questions on what I've just shared.
Nangamso, I brought back the gallery view so that we can actually see if there are any questions or clarifying comments or questions, more questions or clarifying questions.
It was actually just a thumbs up, but what I did want to say is the Pearl's report just came out around literacy, and it really corresponds to what they've been saying, particularly around the fee and the no fee schools and all of that. So just very interesting.
Sure. Thanks, Dominique. Thanks for drawing our attention to that. Okay, so if there's no question, the next, based on sort of like the big picture, the results and what we are seeing is happening on average in South Africa. Again, these are averages. Often I get in trouble on being challenged on saying we can't apply this to every single classroom in every single context. So next question that I'd like you to reflect on is, again, why numeracy and why early grades? And why does this matter to us? Why must we care about this? For everything in life. You need maths to be able to count money. You need maths for the different most careers. You need basic mathematics concept and concrete and problem solving. So I just wanted to just reinforce is that this is a ripple effect. If we don't get it right in the foundation phase, this is what happens from almost into early careers. As you can see, this is just showcasing males and females, where we will start off with 85% of males completing matric, and only about 5% of those end up receiving degrees. Again, 100% on the females. This is data from the NCS cohort 2008. Out of the 100% of females that completed the NCS that year, only about 8% of them sort of gotten degrees. And here's another picture of that. I think to General Mafana on sort of the richer get richer. This is what it looks like if we look at it racially. On the sort of people of color, sorry, there's a spelling there where 85% males, 100% females. Again, the 3%. But if you look at that from sort of white cohorts, where you get 98% males, almost 22% of them complete and get undergrad degrees, versus the people of color cohort, which is just under 4%. Again, in females, similar picture. So this is an issue that persists, right? Again, if you were to ask us, if in order to change that picture, where should we be intervening? Now, this is again using mathematics data to try and sort of track the trajectories of these learners. So it's quite clear, again, richer get richer and poor get poor. And where we are advocating for almost intervention and focus is in the primary schooling phase. Here is the picture of that earlier on, those graphs. So this is a basic, this is grade 3 mathematics that was in the TIMS. And we see here that even at the end of grade 5, almost 50% of quanta 1 to 4 students cannot answer this problem. This is a basic mathematical sort of sum. and yet the majority of our kids are unable to answer this. There's another way of looking at it again. This is another question. And this is the same question, and we compared it to the different countries. So where we basically, I think this is, yeah, it's grade 5 terms, where we basically say, John put 4 boxes on the table as shown below. Which box holds the most? So it's shapes and all of those skills, and almost what? The first 10% schools were only able to answer this question, only 34% of them. And almost 94% of the richest schools, fee-paying schools, were able to answer this question. But overall in the study, South Africa, in this specific question, performed sort of the lowest. I want to get to where I want to share with you. So we've got 3 minutes. I'm going to jump through my slides because it's the same picture over again. And we're trying to make the argument here to say, right, how do we change this? What are the options? And I see that one said prime maths, but what other offering that we say? So at Funda Wande, we've taken a coherent and aligned approach in teaching mathematics. So what does that mean? A teacher received almost scripted or structured pedagogy resources, and there's a coherent and aligned workbook on that, and I'll show you some examples quickly. In grade R, because kids are not yet writing, it is just a teacher resource material, and basically it gives a guide of how to teach numeracy. And I think the earlier on speakers spoke about we needed to shift our narratives and we need to reflect on us as teachers. So at Funda Wande, our content and principle designs of this is to say, in South Africa, we've got a vast majority of teachers, ranging from well-experienced, versed, to almost novice teachers, like I'm trying to figure out myself in the classroom. So how do we design a program or a teaching and learning resource tool that can be used across this demographic of teachers? And this is just an example of our grade 1. Also wanted to show you guys a video. So this is the teacher guide, where we've got almost at a snapshot, if you look at there, clear, oh, now my thing is moving. Pretty much like a lesson plan where you've got your week and your day, and high level showing you what are the concepts or the activities for the day. And then we almost have what we call sequenced images. If you are a high, like you know what you need to do, you probably would just use that sort of flow of the day. If you're a teacher that needs a little bit of support, we also try to script you in terms of what are the dialogue or kind of prompt you some of the discussions of the classroom. And another thing that we've done, I think, to address the earlier on language and how these the transition from home language into English in grade 4 is that we've realized that the curriculum requires our kids to learn mathematics in English from grade 4 onwards. This is the language standardization is a problem beyond education, but we realize that our corpus, as in particular in African languages, is not developed enough to incorporate some of the African language mathematical terms. But how do you already start exposing kids to the type of mathematical terms that they will require from grade 4 beyond into when they're in employment? So the whole idea around a bilingual mathematical material is to start at least exposing both the learner and also the teacher in sort of introducing these mathematical terms. So, and I'll show you now shortly around some of additionally the resources. This is just an example of grade 2. Again, same concept, bilingual, and the intent is that all a teacher needs is what we call a stop-shop gap. So all you would need is the resource and page, just one page after the other, and you won't require any other additional resources outside of the Funda Wande pack. These are just some of the initial findings in our RCTs that we shared earlier on, but I think for the sake of time, I wanted to share with you guys the trainings and the videos that complement our bilingual approach in early grade mathematics. Right. So what also then is accompanied with this sort of approach is that we've also been thinking a lot around how do we support teachers? Because a lot of the feedback that we were getting are around the large classroom sizes, are around, how do we, I mean, now with COVID and catching up, it's a big issue. And we've also developed almost a catalog of videos. And in our materials, these are QR codes. I'm going to ask either Elona just to share the link to our resources in the chat group, but very easy, friendly user resources where teachers don't need anything and probably it costs zero amount to be able to use. So I just wanted to show you an example of number sense was something that came out quite often. And this is for part of teacher preparation. Okay, let me take the shortest video. And if you guys can let me know if you can.
Ngiyakhumbula ngosi izolo besisebenza ngomzila wamanani ne. Xa sibheka phambili amanani wethu besithini. Beba makhulu xa sibuya umva amanani ethathini. Abe mancinci mamela ke ndiza kubasela ibali namhlanje. Sizojonga ke ngolento yenze kanjani xa sisebenza nabantu ne. Okay.
Nangamso, we can't see the visuals. We can see.
Thanks, and I'm sitting here because I can hear it. I'm like assuming that
You can hear it, but we can't see it.
Okay, let me quickly do this. Thanks for that, Camilla. Very quickly, and I'll explain to you guys the methodology of the videos. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
Jonga ke ziyadala ezitshomi esandleni ne kwaza iitshomi ezintathu ubone hayi abele tshomi nale itshomi bayizi ke ha nangakanani ngoku banitsi bayi-6 bangapi bayi-7 inani labo litheni linyukile ne inani labo litheni linyukile. Okay, kwaba late ke ngoba esadala lapha esandleni kwaba late umama wabiza abahlanu babizwa ngumama. Abahlanu babizwa ngubani? Ngumama. Nango oqala, nango wesibili, nango wesithathu ubizwe ngumama, nawo ubiziwe ngumama. Litheni inyani lethu ngoku? Uthu ngoku inani lethu lingapha likhulu okanye lincinci ngoku? Linciphile inani lethu. Good. Ndizagoqa nini? Yagoqa ngoku nani ndizabiza ngomama. Okay, hambani ke nani zithanda zakho.
And the whole point of these videos, so we have these videos in language specific. So we've been quite intentional to say, I think we also had a debate around languages, is that our materials bilingual in the targeted languages and also with the accompanied mathematics videos. And these are all resources or tools freely available for teachers to use as part of learning and teaching support materials. Or in most cases, what we've actually realized recently that it's been used as also training resources tools. So at the moment, we have these in Afrikaans, isiXhosa and Sepedi. And the Western Cape province, if you're in Western Cape or in a Quanta 1, 2, 3, 4 schools, I think would be receiving as part of the province's rollout. And we're currently versioning all of our resources into the rest of Africa or South African languages. So we intend that by next year, June, we should have a full suite of sort of these coherent, structured pedagogy by language or bilingual resources that also accompany videos to the lesson plans. I wish I had more time, but I do want to encourage that if any one of you guys are on this call and would like to either get access to our resources, access to our trainings, to reach out to us, Funda Wande on sort of the website, or you can even try to get our contact details via the Citizen Leader Lab. But the point is, what we're trying to say is that there's a whole lot of things that needs to shift. And I think, again, the earlier speaker, we didn't have time for our third breakaway room, but where we believe it all starts is in the mindset. So as teachers, HOD, school leadership, what type of enabling environment should we be creating for our schools in order to make all of this possible? I think that's one thing, even for us as an organization that's implementing and is doing a lot of research, we're starting to ask ourselves. There's a lot of systemic issues or problems, if I may put it in that sense, but what is it that we should be thinking about as people that are supporting government in their projects and incorporating that in order to realize this country that is no longer performing sort of third last in these international studies. So I do want to encourage that you guys go and play on our YouTube page. If you need access, I'm hoping that my colleagues have shared so that you can browse through these bimodal languages. But again, my purpose here, like I had mentioned earlier on, is that we wanted to really kind of understand where are the people that are on the ground, where are their challenges, what are their views? Because we do a lot of work with government, we do policy work, we do influencing work, and almost using the insights from this call in framing or shaping our discussions with sort of government overall. I know I didn't do justice to our material, but we will be here till next year, in fact, Christmas, if we were to take you through there. But I think just to re-emphasize on two things, we need to start changing our mindset, what needs to change in classrooms. And then I guess the second thing is then we need to prioritize numeracy right from the start, because this has a ripple effect on learners' trajectories, which goes into their early careers as young citizens or participating in their economy. So I had to rush through my last slides. I'm so sorry. But again, we want to be able to engage with anyone who wants to beyond this call. We're very happy to do that. Thank you.